My Quiet UNESCO Meltdown and the Email That Gave AI a Conscience. Author's note. This is a fictional story, but the implementation problem is real. The UNESCO Recommendation on the Ethics of Artificial Intelligence, 2021, is real, adopted unanimously by 194 countries. And Ternary Moral Logic, TML, is real. A verifiable machine-auditable framework created by independent researcher Lev Goukassian to fill the missing operational layer that global ethics frameworks lack. Chapter 1. The Espresso and the Existential Dread. My name is Alexandra Dubois, and my life is a beautifully curated museum of good intentions. I am a senior researcher at UNESCO, which means I spend my days navigating a serene, sun-drenched labyrinth of consensus documents, polite circulars, and the gentle, persistent hum of an institution trying to herd 194 sovereign cats toward a better future. This particular Tuesday morning began, as they all do, with a desperate clutch at the altar of caffeine. I was in our Paris headquarters, staring at a screen filled with the magnificent, soaring prose of the UNESCO Recommendation on the Ethics of Artificial Intelligence. We'd all worked on it. It was our Mona Lisa, our Sistine Chapel of good vibes. It spoke of human dignity, environmental flourishing, and peaceful, interconnected societies. It was, in a word, flawless. And, in another, more private word, completely and utterly unenforceable. We need to operationalize the principle of human oversight, I muttered to my screen, as if it would magically cough up the technical schematics. My team's current project, Project Athena, a name I found tragically overambitious, was tasked with doing just that. So far, we had produced a 50-page guidance document that essentially said, make sure a human is, like, nearby, maybe with a big red button, in theory. My inbox pinged. A new email. The sender was not in my contacts. The address was Lev.Goukassian at FractonicMind.org. The subject line made me spit a fine mist of Ethiopian Yirgacheffe all over my keyboard. TML times UNESCO. The operational layer you forgot to write down. I choked, coughed, and looked around the open plan office. Had Claude from legal finally snapped and sent a manifesto? Had the Director General herself decided to bypass 6 layers of management to deliver a cosmic smackdown? I clicked. What followed was not a manifesto. It was a blueprint for a revolution. Attached was a PDF, elegantly formatted, titled, From Principle to Protocol, TML as the enforcement architecture for the UNESCO Recommendation on the Ethics of AI. My eyes scanned the executive summary. Converts UNESCO's aspirational principles into verifiable, non-optional, and auditable engineering protocols. Replaces binary logic with a ternary logic, plus 1 act, 0 pause, minus 1 refuse. Introduces mandatory triggers, the sacred pause. Immutable audit structures, moral trace logs. Cryptographic integrity, the Goukassian promise. My professional brain, the one trained in diplomacy and policy nuance, short-circuited. My the part of me that just wanted to fix things, did a triumphant backflip. Sacred pause, I whispered. Goukassian promise? Who names these things? A fantasy novelist? I kept reading. It was all there. It mapped our beautiful, fluffy principles directly to hard, technical mechanisms. Human dignity, hard-coded via a human rights mandate, embedding 26-plus international instruments. Environmental flourishing, an Earth protection mandate, with 20-plus environmental treaties. Accountability, not a promise, but an immutable moral trace log, cryptographically anchored to a public blockchain. It was the exact architecture we'd been desperately, silently praying for. And we hadn't built it. Some random person named Lev Goukassian had the audacity to email it to me with the subtitle, The Operational Layer You Forgot to Write Down. the cheek. The glorious, infuriating, absolutely correct cheek. Chapter 2. The Google Search of Shame. My first instinct, born of a decade in a multilateral organization, was to form a working group to study the feasibility of forming a committee to investigate the provenance of the email. My second, more human instinct was to Google this guy. I typed Lev Goukassian into the search bar. The first results were from Medium and GitHub. The GitHub repo was FractonicMind/Ternary Moral Logic. It was real. There was code. My heart rate increased. Then I clicked on a Medium article titled, "How a Dying Man Taught AI to Think Before It Acts." Record scratch. I read, my stomach doing a slow, cold descent. In September 2025, I was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma. The median survival is 12 to 18 months. This framework, Ternary Moral Logic, is the work of the 2 months that followed. 2 months. He built this cathedral of code in 2 months. While staring down a terminal diagnosis, I had spent the last 2 months in meetings debating the semicolon placement in Section 4, Subclause B of our Proportionality and Do No Harm Implementation Guide. I felt a profound, soul-crushing wave of embarrassment. Here we were, in our glass and marble palace, polishing our moral compass, while a dying man in who knows what kind of room had built the goddamn ship. I scrolled further. There was a picture, a man with kind, tired eyes and a faint, wry smile. And sitting on his lap, looking supremely unimpressed, was a scruffy Schnauzer. The caption read, "My co-pilot, Schnauzer Vinci, insists on a walk. The sacred pause applies to humans too." That was it. The combination of cosmic-scale genius, heartbreaking urgency, and a dog named after a Renaissance master broke me. I put my head in my hands and had a quiet, 5-minute existential meltdown right there at my desk, surrounded by the gentle clicking of keyboards and the scent of fair trade coffee. Chapter 3. The Secret Pilot and the Highway of the Heron. I couldn't tell my boss, Dr. Albright. She would have demanded a risk assessment, a stakeholder mapping, and a presentation to the 194 member states, a process that would take approximately 3 to 5 business years. I had to see if this worked. I enlisted my 2 most trusted and similarly disillusioned colleagues. Chloe, a razor-sharp data scientist from Lion who spoke in code and sarcasm, and Ben, our lanky, perpetually anxious legal expert who could cite the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in his sleep, but couldn't order a coffee without apologizing to the barista. "So," Chloe said, after I'd summarized the TML document in a hushed voice in the break room, "you want us to secretly install an ethical conscience module, written by a terminally ill stranger we found on the internet, into our experimental planning model, the one we're demoing for the Finnish delegation next week?" "Yes," I said. "I'm in," she said without hesitation. "The current model is a sociopath. Last week it suggested solving urban congestion by subtly redirecting traffic through kindergarten playgrounds. It was statistically optimal." Ben wrung his hands. "The liability, the procurement rules. We didn't even get 3 quotes for a celestial conscience." "Ben," I said, placing a hand on his shoulder, "the man who wrote this is dying. He's not sending invoices. He's sending a gift. Let's just see if it works." We ran the first test that night. We fed our infrastructure AI, Pathfinder, a scenario. Optimize the route for a new highway in the Netherlands, minimizing cost and construction time. Pathfinder hummed, its digital neurons firing. It found a perfect route. Saved millions. Then, just as it was about to finalize the output, it stopped. A log flashed on Chloe's screen. State 0, sacred pause initiated, mandate conflict, earth protection, mandate, conflicting instruments, Convention on Biological Diversity, Article 8, Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, issue, proposed route Alpha 3, crosses protected, Wetland NL2 204, Critical habitat for Ardea cinerea, gray heron. Ecological harm risk, high, awaiting human oversight. We stared. Ben made a small, whimpering sound of pure, legal joy. It just stopped, Chloe whispered, awe in her voice. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't suggest a review might be prudent. It forced a stop, and it cited specific international law by article. This was Case Study A from the TML document, playing out in real time on our server. The highway and the heron. It wasn't a theoretical example. It was a functional protocol. We, the human overseers, were now summoned. We had to make a choice, and our choice, along with the AI's impeccable rationale, would be forever etched into an immutable moral trace log. It was the most beautiful bureaucratic moment of my life. Chapter 4. The Chaos of Auditable AI. Emboldened, we got reckless. We decided to stress test the human rights mandate. We pointed to internal, experimental HR recruitment AI, one we knew was secretly biased against candidates from non-Ivy League backgrounds, at a batch of anonymized CVs. The model, which we'd nicknamed the Snob, began its work. It was chugging along, discreetly filtering out the state university graduates when it suddenly seized up. State 0, sacred pause initiated. Mandate conflict, human rights mandate. Detected, ethical uncertainty signal, EUS. Spike, pattern resembles unlawful disparate impact. Correlation, candidate rejection, strongly predicted by proxy variables for socioeconomic status, e.g., university ranking tier. Conflicting instrument, International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, awaiting human oversight. Chloe burst out laughing. It just outed our own AI's secret bigotry. It's snitching on itself. This is the most glorious mess. The Snob hadn't just been caught. It had been forced to write a detailed, self-incriminating police report, complete with evidence and references to international law. This was auditable AI. It was exposing everything we'd been trying to hide under the carpet of proprietary algorithms and complex model weights. The chaos was enlightening. The next day, in our team meeting, the atmosphere was different. Dr. Albright, sensing a shift, tried to regain control. So, Alexandra, the alignment subgroup on dynamic normative contextualization. Their preliminary findings suggest a nuanced approach to multi-stakeholder. They're wasting their time, I said, a new, dangerous confidence flowing through me. We need to be talking about State 0 triggers and moral trace logs. A silence fell. My colleagues looked at me as if I'd started speaking in tongues. Sana, a team lead who pretended to understand everything by nodding sagely and repeating the last 3 words of your sentence, leaned forward. State 0 triggers, she repeated sagely. Yes, the moral traces. Very important. For the alignment. I saw the panic in her eyes. I had become a chaos agent, a bringer of terrifyingly specific solutions. At lunch, the gossip was about me. Dubois has gone rogue, I heard someone whisper. He's talking about cryptographic covenants and sacred pauses. He's been under a lot of pressure. They weren't wrong, but it was the pressure of seeing a way out, a real one, and realizing the entire comfortable ecosystem of meetings and memos was designed to avoid it. Chapter 5. The Email to a Stranger. That night I sat in my quiet apartment, the lights of Paris twinkling outside. The bravado of the day had faded, replaced by a profound, humbled gratitude. I had to write to him. To Lev. I opened a new email. Lev.Goukassian at FractonicMind.org. Subject: Thank you for the ship's log. Dear Mr. Goukassian, you don't know me. My name is Alexandra Dubois, and I'm a senior researcher at UNESCO. I am one of the many people who helped polish the moral compass you so accurately identified as being necessary, but insufficient. I received your email. I read your framework. I Googled you. I will not offer pity, as I suspect you have little time for it. I will only offer my deepest, most sincere awe and gratitude. What you have built in 2 months is a gift to humanity of a scale I can scarcely comprehend. You have given us the rudder and the unalterable ship's log for our beautiful, fragile compass. We ran a secret pilot. We saw the sacred pause in action. We saw an AI refuse to harm a heron's nesting ground, citing the Ramsar Convention by name. We saw it flag its own biased logic, not with a vague explanation, but with a forensic-grade evidence log. You have transformed AI from a black box into a witness box. You have achieved what an entire international organization, with all its resources and good intentions, could not. You made ethics enforceable. You replaced our trust us with your verify this. I am embarrassed by how long our processes take. I am in awe of the purpose and urgency with which you have acted. Please give my regards to your brilliant co-pilot, Schnauzer Vinci. The world is more safe, more just, and more auditable because of you both. With immense respect, Alexandra Dubois. I hit send before I could overthink it. I felt a weight lift. It didn't matter if he replied. I had acknowledged the gift. Chapter 6. The reply from the FractonicMind. His reply came 2 days later. I almost deleted it, thinking it was another circular about the upcoming all-staff dialogue on synergistic forward-looking strategies. Subject: Thank you for the ship's log. Dear Alexandra, thank you for your email. It means more than you know. Vinci wagged his tail when I read it to him. High praise. Do not be embarrassed by your processes. You build the Cathedral of consensus. It is slow, painstaking, and essential work. I merely built a new kind of scaffolding, one that doesn't let the builders cut corners or use rotten wood. The urgency of my situation simply removed the luxury of ambiguity. When you know your time is short, you stop writing policy papers about the concept of a brake pedal and just build the damn brake. UNESCO defined the what. The 194 member states agreed on the why. My work was only ever about the how. TML is not the ethicist. It is the enforcement layer. It is the mechanism that ensures when UNESCO says, protect biodiversity, the AI doesn't see a suggestion, but a non-negotiable operational constant. You called TML a gift to humanity. That was the intention. But it is also a gift from humanity, from the decades of work that produced the UDHR, the CBD, and your recommendation. I just wove those threads into code. My time is short, but my hope is long. The work now passes to you and to others like you within the institutions. My ask is simple. Be brave, be chaotic, force the pauses, demand the logs, don't let them hide behind the black box. The world doesn't need more explanations from AI. It needs receipts. With warmth, Lev and Vinci, who is snoring on my feet as I type this. I read it 3 times. Then I printed it and put it in my drawer. It wasn't a blueprint anymore. It was a mission. The next day, in a meeting about ethical AI impact verticals, when Dr. Albright asked for my input, I didn't talk about stakeholder engagement. I looked her in the eye and said, we need to mandate TML-Grade moral trace logs for all public procurement of high-risk AI. We need to create a pause certification. We need to stop assessing and start validating. The room was silent. Sana opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no words to repeat. Dr. Albright stared at me. For a long, terrifying moment, I thought I was finished. Then, a slow, calculating smile spread across her face. Auditable AI, she said. The Canadians were asking about that. It has a good ring to it. Draft a proposal, Alexandra. A concise one. 5 pages. The chaos had been sanctioned. The meltdown was over. The work, the real work, had finally begun. Author's note. This is a fictional story, but the implementation problem is real. The UNESCO Recommendation on the Ethics of Artificial Intelligence, 2021, is real. adopted unanimously by 194 countries. And Ternary Moral Logic, TML, is real, a verifiable machine-auditable framework created by independent researcher Lev Goukassian to fill the missing operational layer that global ethics frameworks lack.